Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. On this podcast, myself and Steve spoke to Matt Hill, who has been a member of both the Hussla Squad and the System for 1 year. He has been one of the quiet achievers who has crept along and managed to make $54,000 in his last 12 months. Prior to that, the 3 weeks before joining the Hussla Platinum Squad, Matt actually lost $18,000 and was getting personal loans to fund his gambling patterns. It is a crazy story about someone who's managed to literally turn it around and go cold turkey and turn it the complete other way to absolutely take the piss over the next 12 months. If you're someone who wants to understand how a gambler can change from simply exposing himself to a winning system and hitting the psychological patterns on the head from day one, have a listen to this podcast. And if you have any questions about us, you can obviously contact us on Instagram. All the relevant links will be in the description. There's a lot of other podcasts and interviews with other members, and our free course over at the Hussla Squad, as well as the System free chats, are always available to join. All links will be in the description. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. All right, so I guess we'll welcome you on. Officially welcome Matt Hill. I think you're our fifth guest or fourth testimonial guest. And I guess we'll introduce you as Matt Hill. That's not your real name, but you're someone who came across from that gambling background. And I won't give too much away, I'll let you explain this, but it's been a very strong transformation. So I guess for all the listeners, we'll introduce you as that, but do you want to tell us who you are, where you've come from, whatever else? Floor is yours to introduce yourself, unless you want us to do it for you.
So I'm not really sure. Maybe you can kick that off there, and then I can just follow through.
Cool. Yeah, easy. So basically what we want to know is who you are, like what you do, from a sense of, okay, are you some whiz-bang millionaire investor, or are you just some normal guy who works a normal job? You don't have to speak specifically, but what do you do? And then prior to coming to the system, were you a gambler? Did you know about gambling? Did you bet before? All that kind of stuff. Just generally tell us.
Yeah, so
maybe
I was
even where you came across us. That would be maybe better.
Yeah, so I was a big problem gambler. I actually had one massive win, which sort of kicked it all off. Which is like a 15-leg multi. I just put it down just for shits and gigs kind of thing. I won like 12 grand, I think, and I thought, oh, this was bloody amazing. So I just kept on going, and then it just got I lost it all, obviously. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. So I was following all these pages on Facebook and stuff, all these groups, and they're all just 20-leg, 25-leg multis, etc. And I was just following these tips every week and just losing money. And it wasn't until I think it was through COVID, and I noticed in all these groups, and there was one guy in these groups just commenting all the time, and sort of just laughing kind of thing. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this, JP. You know where I'm going with this. And it just like this guy used to get slandered all the time, and it just didn't affect him at all. And I was just wondering, it was like, why is this guy not getting upset? Why is this guy not getting upset? And it just started to get to me. I got real super curious about it, and I think that then this guy started putting up like links for not so much help, but just like to his courses and such, and I think that's when I sent you a DM, JP, about asking about what it was all about. But during that period, I was in a real bad spot where I was actually. It's pretty embarrassing, but I actually ended up getting like loans just to support my gambling habit, like behind my partner's back and everything as well. So having to
right.
it was real hectic, dude. It was real hectic, like something that I'm definitely not proud of. But I reckon, if it wasn't for if I didn't come across your comments in those groups, then I don't know where I'd be right now.
I've just opened the DM to go to the top, and I will. How do I do this without? I'm going to screenshot it and come back to it and then edit your name out. But your first ever thing that you messaged me was, why is everyone hating on you? And that was the 9th of August 2021.
Yep.
So yeah, you're right. I didn't know that. I just looked back now and had a sus. Because I scrolled through this chat before getting on this to just see where we were at, but I didn't actually go that far up. So that's funny you say that. But I didn't know that about you in terms of the loans. That's fucked.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's
So
super fucked, and like just all this. I was doing all this shit behind my partner as well, so doing all these loans like without her knowing, sort of thing. You know, it was just like everything was done behind her back. Obviously, she had like no knowledge about it at all, and it was just it was just a real like probably the lowest I've been in my life, to be honest, because I'd already been. I mean, I'd won that $12,000 multi, you know, and I just thought. I panicked when I'd lost it all. I was just trying to win it all back. So yeah, I started taking out loans just to support the habit kind of thing. And I think in the end, I think I took out like 6K, you know, and just lost it all as well. So it was all behind my partner's back, all in the middle of COVID as well, you know, sort of thing. Because I was the only one who had a job through COVID. My partner lost her job through COVID, so.
yeah.
For her to find out something like that, it would be absolutely like it'd be the end for sure.
Yeah, right. Does she know now?
Yeah, I can't. I had to. So when I joined Trumpy, I had to tell her, right. I had to tell her what I was doing, and I'm not sure if it was you, Steve, or
No.
not. But I remember we had a discussion. I think it was. I think I might have won a free monthly or something like that. But I'd actually been charged, and I had to explain to her why this random fee was coming out of her account, and
Yeah, okay.
I had to sort of explain to her. I was like, oh, I'm not like I know I had this problem before, but I'm not actually sort of gambling at the moment. I think we might touch on that one as well, JP, about when I joined Trumpy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she would have seen this payment and thought, "Oh no, you've gone back into old habits
Yeah,
or something like
exactly.
that, like a
Yeah.
subscription service to a gambling service. It's not
Yep.
looking too good." Yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so
damn.
let's reverse back. Obviously, you came across me on the Facebook. I would have sent you the free course, some recordings, whatever.
Yep.
I think you went and did that, and then you I think just pulled the trigger and you did platinum on a payment plan, which was 2 payments of
Yep.
I think $598.50, which ends up being $1,200 essentially.
Yep.
And then I think about 3 weeks in, you asked about the system, formerly known as Trumpy's Tips, but then you were quite skeptical because you did think it was like pure gambling, and you were kind of wondering what the hell, why would we be promoting that? So we'll put the screenshots on the screen. But yeah, maybe tell us, like, why did you go back to when you were interested and curious about me and why I was getting hate? What made you then go and do the course? Like, because most gamblers wouldn't be like a little bit too impatient. Like, what did you tell us about that?
I just knew that something had to change, you know, and like you seemed it was purely just the fact I thought I'd just dive in because you were getting so much hate and it just wasn't affecting you at all. I was like, at first I thought it was pretty arrogant. I was like, oh well, surely there must be some sort of there must be something else to this. But so I got the link and read through all the course, and the more and more I went over it, the more and more I was like, if I actually like put my mind to this, I can actually make like a solid side hustle out of this kind of thing. So I just went through with it, and yeah, absolutely no regrets, that's for sure.
Like, did you come in, because I remember reading it and you were pretty like confused, like you were a bit overwhelmed, you were a bit unsure where to start. You messaged me, I sent you a couple of voices. I said, look man, I think you're a little bit hard on yourself. Like, you were expecting to know everything straight away, and it does take a bit of time for most people to come in. And some people will watch it and they'll just know what to do straight up, back to front, without having to be told. But other people do need a little bit of direction. So I remember sending you a couple of voice messages, and then you kind of went a bit further and realized that what you had to do, and then you started making some profit. But then what made you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think I was just I was overwhelmed, and it was just hard to grasp the fact that you can actually make money on betting sites, you know, and I just didn't believe it. I don't think I believed it until maybe 2 or 3 weeks in, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I guess
sort of
Steve loves that one about the anchor bias.
The what?
The anchor bias about people not believing you can win, about the sky's purple and shit. That one you just did.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I do love that point. I've talked about it in the last podcast where people just automatically believe that they can't win, but not something I sort of want to touch on. One thing I'm pretty fascinated in is with this first multi you won. So you won this 12K on this first multi, and we've sort of talked about it in the past when people actually win a large amount of money like that doing pretty irresponsible gambling. It validates that idea to themselves that that is, a sustainable form of gambling. Was that sort of something that you found yourself falling into? It's like you won this massive amount, so therefore you sort of believed that that was a potential profitable way moving forward, which is then obviously what sort of led to your downfall.
100%.
Is that something that relates?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I thought it would just be easy. And then I was getting to the stage where I was even up to 3, 4 in the middle of the night, doing form and statistics. So I just used to bet on mostly AFL and basketball and stuff. And I just have spreadsheets just flying out of my ass, just numbers and shit. Oh, this is a moral, this is a moral, this is a moral. And I think, then I essentially lost 18 grand in the next month, So that was probably that was a month before I joined.
In a month
before I joined Platinum. Yeah. So I lost the 12 grand, and then
that's interesting.
And then I took out $6,000
that you had
loans,
spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So what were your spreadsheets? Because if someone's got a spreadsheet, they're most likely at least objectifying what they're doing, whereas most gamblers will have no idea what they're doing. They just bet on whatever. So what were your spreadsheets like? What's in them?
Oh, it was just all. Well, I don't have them anymore, obviously, because it's just such a bad part of my life. But it was just history of stats and venues and who the amount of disposals this team would give away, or the amount of rebounds this team would give away, and just had this whole massive system, which I actually thought was impenetrable as well. I actually got pretty arrogant about it, just thinking it's just sick, to be honest. It's just so sick. Even talking about it's hard.
It's pretty fascinating. I mean, this is what makes gambling, particularly horse racing in general, such a fascinating field for so many people, is because there's so many variables. And unfortunately, we all think that we've got sort of the winning way, in a sense. And so you can have these spreadsheets and you do all this data analysis, you have all these statistics, and definitely that's going to put you in a better position. But it doesn't necessarily mean there's so many different permutations and combinations of combining all of these variables that to get the correct one is so hard to do. And at the end of the day, people want to believe that the way that they're doing it works. And so they're going to put on their hard earned, not to win the money, also winning the money is good, but also just to validate themselves that their analytics, their statistics, their whatever it may be actually works. And then, as you said, you get arrogant with it and you're like, no, I've got this. Then it feeds on the emotions. It's what the bookies want. And it's just, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, well, I didn't win one multi after that big one, so yeah.
What did you straight up then? Okay, you won the 12 grand. What were your next bets? Were they bigger bets, or were they just the same kind of bets and more of them? How did you bet after that?
No, they were big. I was putting 15-leg $500 multis down. I was just betting random. Then I started betting randomly on stuff as well, man. Overseas dogs and overseas horses, and I'd never been into horse racing or anything like that before, so it was almost just whatever I could bet on at the time. If I had my phone open, I was just doing it. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
What was how were you sort of feeling? Was it a pretty sort of stressful time while this was all happening? Did it happen pretty quickly? I imagine sort of escalated quite scarily in a way.
Yeah, it was so stressful because especially considering that I'd won all this money and it was at an ideal time too. It was in the middle of COVID, and then I would just lose it all, and then I started panicking, and that's why I started getting these loans as well. It was just I was just well, shit, I got to win this money back, and then I'd lose $1,000. Well, now I need to win that. Now I need to win that $1,000 back, and it just went on for three weeks. I would say I was just. Yeah, $6,000 across actually 2.5 weeks it was, yeah.
Yeah, I guess once you joined, right? Obviously, there's the fairyland that we live in now. How much have you made since coming back across? Or do you want to talk about that? Or
Yeah, so...
Or you don't want to put a figure on it?
No, so no, it's fine. So with Trumpy, so I think I joined in, it must have been October, was it? It might have been October or September. I can't
Yeah, it was
remember.
October.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've just sort of slowed down on it over the last couple of 2 months, just because I've had work commitments, but it's like 21K since then. And through Platinum,
Nice.
I've made like 33K. So it's been really, really good.
So 54K total.
54K since I joined. Yeah, since I joined Platinum. Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
That's pretty insane. That's nice. We love hearing that. So I guess the question I wanted to follow on with from that, not to make ourselves look good, but was there any time where, okay, you've lost 18K, did you just go, okay, that's it, I'm not gambling anymore, or did you have battles after you joined Platinum to have temptations to go back? Or was it
You know,
purely a black and white, clean slate,
you know
cold
what?
turkey?
You know what? I never thought about it ever again. I didn't think about going back to gambling at all. I think it was just a rush for me, just like knowing that. Well, I just started off with like the deposit offers, and like just turning them over. And I was like, shit, I've made like $200 here, and just yeah, just the more and more I was reading the courses, just like if you just stay the course, you're gonna make money. You're gonna make money in the long term, and that was the big thing for me. I just have to stay patient, just keep it going, and then yeah, and then the more and more comfortable I got with everything on Platinum, just like all the different ways you can make money, I was just blown away. I was just like, this is risk-free money. Like I can't lose money, but I can make a lot of money here, and just purely because of that, once I'd done it for about a month, didn't even think about gambling ever again.
Yeah, very interesting. We've had a couple of those people, which a lot of people do say to us, like we get a lot of hate. I don't know how much you see of it on TikTok or whatever if you follow that stuff, but a lot of people say to us like, you're just the same as the bookies, or you're providing someone with basically the opportunity to gamble, which we know, like technically anyone with a gambling addiction would probably have issues following our service, and we remove those people straight up and tell them. But we know there's people like you out there that, and there's probably 99 out of 100 who are actually benefiting from it, and the 1 out of 100 who isn't. So what would you say, like, if you were to kind of, if someone called bluff on this stuff that we can't change gamblers, like what would you tell someone like that?
For me, I would say that joining Platinum and the system has changed my life. Like it's just changed my whole thought process behind gambling. Around like I don't on like honestly, I've just made so much money from this, like risk free. I haven't had to worry about gambling or anything. I don't even think about gambling anymore. So I would just yeah, it's changed my life. It
Why do
really
you think
has.
that is?
Mm.
Like, what part of that? Like, what have we said, or what have you heard that has made you do that? Because that's pretty interesting to know. That's just as clear as that.
Do you just want to elaborate on that a little bit more, like the question?
So, like, for example, me, I used to gamble when I was 18, 19,
Hmm.
20. I discovered match betting when I was, I think, 22
Yep.
or 21. And from that point on, once I saw what's possible, I was able to then see how stupid gambling was. Essentially, you're throwing your money with a roll of the dice as opposed to being in control of it and making money. What was what did you hear or what did you watch that made you then not want to gamble anymore? Like, what was it? Was there any
It was
specific thing?
No, there wasn't anything specifically. It was just like knowing that I can make money risk free. That was it. That was basically it. And I think that was the thing that stood out to me most when I first joined the Platinum course, was like I just saw it everywhere, like make money risk free. That was it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we've gone away from that, I guess, now. We don't market it as profit as much anymore. We kind of
Yep.
market it now as like a lot of people know match betting and a lot of people get sucked into the risk-free gimmick profit stuff. And now we're talking about more the long game and the advanced stuff around sustainability, which I'm sure you can probably be an advocate for. But sorry, just off topic, how many accounts have you had banned since joining?
So
And how
I've
many did you
had
start with?
so currently I have 21 accounts, and I've had two
Yeah.
that I've been banned from, and it was in like the first 2 months as well. first 2 months of
That's
match
mental.
betting. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Awesome. So you've only had the 21 accounts, and so like a lot of people watching this and probably assume that um, you scaled or used multiple accounts. Have you done that?
I
Like,
did try. I did
if
like slowly start to get into it, but then I sort of just stopped. I just thought, well, I'm good enough where I am now. I don't have to like push the issue too much. So, and I didn't have. It's not like I had a lot of extra time to be doing it as well. So yeah, I didn't get into scaling too much.
So I'm pretty fascinated. So I know when I sort of first got into match betting, and then the system came along, and now obviously we are where we are. Particularly early on, I'd sort of tell people what I was doing, and people would give me a weird look, and they'd sort of think, "What the hell? This is Steve's up to no good," or something like that. But generally speaking, I've been a pretty sort of sensible person throughout life. I haven't really found myself in any financial issues or anything. So I think sort of particularly my parents were pretty sort of, just, they'll let me go. They're not going to get too involved with what I was doing. But I'm really fascinated to hear sort of the reaction that you would have gotten from friends and family once you sort of got heavily invested with the Hustler Squad, then with us at, Trumpy, then the system, particularly because you'd come from sort of obviously the stories that you were mentioning before, and then explaining to them that you'd found this new way to beat the bookies, particularly after coming from a point where you thought you'd found this way to sort of beat them, and obviously that didn't end up well. How was sort of the reaction that you got from people, and yeah, what do they sort of see it as now?
Well, it took a lot of time for my partner to get used to it. I was just very open with her, and I just had to explain to her and just sort of show her as well that like I'm not actually gambling anymore. It was like probably the hardest thing I had to do was coming forward to her beforehand and then just telling her. I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do now,
Mm,
and you just have to sort of trust me on this one. And yeah, like with regards to like my family stuff, well, all my family live in New Zealand, so they don't really get into it too
yeah.
much. Like they don't really know what I get up to, sort of thing. But yeah, now with my partner and stuff, especially with my partner now, she just lets me do what I want because she's seen what's happened, and yeah, it's like yeah, it's been really really good.
has the 50K that you've made, is that like, I don't want to get into your own personal finances, but has that had a massive impact on what you've been able to do from a financial sense, or is it just kind of nice little supplementary thing that you've been able to add, or like what's it been able to do for you
No,
financially?
no, man, we bought a house and it paid for like half of our deposit. So I think I might have asked you as well, JP, in one of the in
That's
our
elite.
chats as well about should I have a different account for all of my
Oh
gambling
yeah.
agency? Like, is it going to affect like a yeah? So we're looking at that around then, and like yeah, 3 months ago we bought a house. So that's what most of that's gone on.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice. That's elite to
That's
hear.
pretty sick. That's awesome to hear. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting more of these things now. Obviously, we've been around for two plus years, 2.5 hustler, two around about two for the system, and obviously there's been people who've been there for a long time, and like we interviewed Pom last week, who's made 130K in 2 years. We've had other people make 150. So like hearing this shit is just like, it's just like we get paid once for platinum. I get paid $1,100 my company, and that's it. We don't collect a cent from you after that. To hear you've made 33K or whatever it was from the system, and now 21K, from Hustler, and 21K from the system. It's just like we say. I have this saying: we collect the crumbs of your pie, and Steve and stuff laugh at it. Like we get a little bit of a crumb of what you can potentially make. Like the 1K or 1,100 that we've taken off your 1,200 is a tiny amount of your 50K. So I think your total sub fee is probably closer towards maybe 2K, given that you probably, I don't know how much you
Yeah.
paid on the system, but yeah, it's a small amount compared to how much you can make, and that's why we kind of get frustrated when people say like, okay, well, like you're charging people X, Y, Z. It's like, well, we're charging people because that's what you can actually make, and to see that a house has come from it, that's fucking awesome.
I think as well, I could have made a lot more if I'd had the capital to start off with as well, and if there's been times as well, like during my subscription to the system where I haven't. There's been weeks where I haven't been able to follow, or there's been days where I haven't been able to follow as well. So I think as well, like if I'd pushed the issue a little bit more, if I'd had that capital to start off with, it could have been 80, 90K, I would say, just as an estimate. Yeah, which is
Yeah, right.
ridiculous.
Because you are jumping off now for a bit. I don't know if you plan on getting back on, just because you said work's heating up a little bit. I want to ask the question just for other people out there so they can understand. What kind of hours were you putting in to get, like it's been about a year, what hours are you putting in to get that, what you've been able to achieve for the week, let's say?
I would say during the week, I would say maybe 25 hours, 20 to 25 hours. And that's including that's
Yeah, right.
including 5 to 6 hours on a Saturday with the system. So it's
Yeah.
definitely,
So
yeah, it's
what are you doing in the extra hours? Are you all sustainability stuff?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was real big on concentrating on my sustainability to start off with, and it hasn't changed. It's always like first and foremost what I've tried to concentrate on, just because the value of having one account is it's immeasurable, and you're not going to be able to make this amount of money without all these accounts.
It's pretty awesome that you've only lost 2 accounts and you understand the value of it. Like obviously, Platinum Squad preaches it, and we touch on it probably to a lesser degree of the system. But I think myself, it took myself, losing probably 5, 10 accounts before I actually really started to feel the pain of losing those accounts. But the fact that you fully appreciate how valuable they are now is awesome. And it's a credit to you. It's a credit to the sustainability work you've put in. And obviously, you've still got 19 available accounts. So if you're ever bored and ever want to pick it back up, you're ready to go. And unfortunately, yeah, the rookies don't understand that. They just want to cash in, get in, make their quick buck. But then they miss out on the opportunity to come back to it when they want to.
Yeah, it's just yeah, those are accounts. They're just so important. Yeah, they're just so important.
Were you because you lost 18K, you originally won 12. How far along your gambling journey was that original win? Like, had you been gambling for years, or you just started?
Oh, I
Because
don't even.
how old
I
were those
don't. I
accounts?
mean, they weren't old. So like, I'd never really been into betting on like gambling agency. I was like the kind of guy that would just have a few beers at the pub, might go to the pokies, might chuck a 50 on a random horse at the TAB or anything like that. But yeah, during COVID, it got that's when
Yeah,
it sort of happened, when I sort of had nothing to do. I like watching sport, and obviously there's all these commercials on TV about like multis and shit like that, and I just got caught up in it. And then yeah, I had that one big win, and then after that, yeah, it was just yeah, it was so hectic. But yeah, just the marketing and stuff, I think, was what drew me towards it for sure.
yeah. That thing that Steve said at the start regarding your win affecting how you then viewed gambling and validating that behavior. This is why we get so frustrated when people post their wins and people get like kind of asking other people for their tips after they see a win. And it's exactly how the bookies want you to think. And arguably, like, you winning is actually better for the bookies than you
Mm,
losing. So if you never
mm,
won, you wouldn't have lost 18K.
no,
Like, you just wouldn't have. But
yeah,
because you did, you lose it.
Hmm.
So it's interesting how when you zoom out and just look at the whole picture and let it all pan out, what the butterfly effect of you not winning would have, maybe you would never have come across this. Maybe you would have lost a couple of thousand over the next couple of years versus winning 12, losing 18, and then now making 55 or whatever.
yeah,
Like, it's very interesting how that's panned out, and that's all
yeah.
come from winning that bet. So
And you see it heaps too,
interesting
eh?
stuff.
Like
Pretty,
on social media with like all these gambling. Like if someone wins a really big multi, they always post it, and like
Oh, they
now,
fucking
like
milk the shit out of
we
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we know why. But it's like such great marketing, right?
Yeah, it's pretty intense,
yeah,
and
it'd
it's
be
so
great if all of
efficient.
it. It'd be
Sorry.
great if all of a sudden people started glorifying their losses, and it'd be amazing how much all of a sudden like a lose. Like obviously, it would never take off. No one wants to see losing bet slips, but imagine you had 70,000 people in a group that had losing bet slips in it, and all of a sudden the impact that would have on their behaviour. They're not gonna see people losing $1,000 on a 15 leg multi to win $1 million and go, oh yeah, I might go and put $1,000 multi on. But in reality, that's everything that's happening under the
Yeah,
surface. But it just
yeah.
doesn't that's not exciting. It's not marketable. It's not
No.
attractive. It's not good for social media.
Have you had any specific big wins, like from a match betting standpoint? Obviously, this doesn't happen often. Like, it's not like the early payouts and stuff that we used to be able to do, which wasn't capped. Or was it purely just a grind for a year where you were just accumulating money and compounding that? Like, was there any specific month where you made, I don't know, 10K or 20K or something, or was it just a slow grind the whole time?
No, it was a slow grind, but I remember I did win. I did win. I did have a big win, and it was Swans versus the Demons the last season. I think they had like a it was like a halftime payout or something like that. I think I won like 4.5K from that, and that was like a massive. That's probably the biggest win I've had with match betting for
was that
sure.
a Bet365?
Yeah, it's just basically been a grind, I would say.
It would have to be Bet365. How much did you make on the one match, and how did that happen? Do you want to explain that without going into the exact details of how it was done?
The exact details. What do you mean by that? Like, you don't want me to go into like why I did it, or like I was just trying to like get money out of the agency into Betfair, or what do you mean by that?
So like, what were you doing? Like, were you just turning over like a two-way Dutch, and it turned out that you made 4.5K, or what happened?
No, I was just trying to empty my account into Betfair. That was it.
Yeah, right. So okay, and did you like watch the match, or did you just turn it on the next day and it was there?
No, I didn't even. I don't watch any matches or anything like that when I'm trying to empty my accounts. I just got on the next day. I was just like, wow, I've got $2,300 in Betfair, but I've still got like $2,000 in my accounts. I just didn't realize what had happened.
Yeah, right. Interesting. I mean, that's awesome, because like we used to do that method, obviously, and something that we used to do was that, but it's not something that you can do as much anymore, just due to the non frequency of those offers being available, and then Bet365 being the only one that actually offers it not uncapped still, even though it's 32 points. It's stupid. Like, it's not an often thing that happens. So I guess you get yourself into those positions, and you were lucky enough to get it. So awesome.
It's a pretty good
Steve has a question. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, just on that though, it's a pretty good, I guess, free tip for those listening, that if you're going to hedge something, it's not a bad idea to hedge it. If it's AFL, NRL, hedge it with Bet365, because you might get that one in 50 where it goes the other way and you get both. But anyway, that's sort of off topic. I did have one question I did sort of want to ask, and that was, I guess, how did you go with sort of handling potential emotions that would creep back in while following the system? I know sort of JP already talked about it before, but I definitely know myself, if I can sort of identify sort of those feelings of those gambling sort of tendencies that creep back in. And obviously we talk about this on our podcast, and we talk about, how you don't want to, it's fine to have those feelings, it's fine to feel those emotions, but providing you don't sort of let it impact your behavior. Have you now that you've been able to you've been with us for sort of a good 12 months, you've seen the other side of it, can you sort of identify those sort of gambling tendencies, those gambling emotions better? Are you able to harness them better and avoid it from impacting your behavior? Have you noticed any change there? And if you have, sort of, would you mind elaborating on it?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think in the early day when I first joined the system, it was definitely on like losing days. It was definitely difficult to control my emotions, just because it was still pretty fresh in the back of my mind. Like losing money, just having to reassure myself that that it's a long-term game. It's like, don't think short-term, but it was really, really hard at the beginning on losing days, just because all that money that I'd lost, it was still so fresh in the back of my mind. But definitely, the further and further down the track we got, it just became easier and easier to sort of control those emotions. And I know, like, definitely in the group chat as well, was I was always sort of there trying to help people with that, just because I'd known I've been in that place as well, like new subscribers sort of in the same boat as what I was. So that's it basically.
Yeah, interesting. I have a final kind of question for you, that double question really. Firstly, the one around, would you have any advice for anyone who is thinking of investing in either of the services, and maybe as an experience, and to explain to people would you sign up to one or the other, or would you tell people to do both, and why would you like do that? Just because obviously we talk about it, but we'd love to hear it from your point of view as to why you would do what you want to do.
I would definitely be a strong advocate for joining both, just because of, well, simply the system does teach things like sustainability and turnover, bonus turnover, and things like that to an extent. But if you can get really want to get really deep into it and sort of increase your chances, your profit turnover and things like that, I think having the platinum there, joining platinum is incredibly beneficial, just for things like sustainability and bonus turnovers, and like just getting your head around things like Betfair and stuff. Like Betfair is just such a massive game changer when you're doing this. To have potentially an extra 15% worth of bonus turnovers, like over a long period of time, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and then final word, would you have any advice, or we always ask any kind of person that comes on, any advice for just punters in general? Pretend you're talking to, I don't know, a Facebook group full of degenerates, or just people who don't believe it, or just anyone. Like, what would you tell a gambler? Not so much about us, just in general. Like, what would you tell them if you had 30 seconds or 60 seconds to say something to them? What would you tell them?
Oh, that's a hard one. Like, in what respect do you mean? Like, because it's so hard to give gamblers advice, you know? Like,
All right, well, what would you tell yourself 1 year ago when you were in a mindset of, I've just won 12K, I'm the king of the world? And even before that, if it, like, you obviously didn't know what you know now back then, what would you tell someone if you had, like, if you found someone on the street who was 18 years old and he started gambling, what would you tell him?
what would I tell them? I would, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't gamble. It's just the most toxic thing that you can get involved with, and it'll ruin your life. It almost ruined my life. Yeah, it's just the worst thing that you can do. Just completely, just fucking ignore it. Just do something more valuable with your money, because like gambling is it's just not a way of life. It's just not a way of living. It's not sustainable.
What if they just said
Yeah.
to you that that's fucking, you're just the fun police, it's fun, I have fun doing it? What would you tell them then?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, what do you even say to someone that's just like wants to go out and punt? Like, this is stuff that you were saying, JP, as well. You know, it's just like, what you can't. What do you even say to that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I find
that's
that
the answer.
fascinating. I find that fascinating because like you were able to listen in that sense. Like when you were in sort of that deep sort of losing trot, and you know it was obviously a terrible time. You were still able to sort of actually objectively listen to some random guy on Facebook, which is, you know, a massive credit to you that you were able to do that. But why do you think other people are just so sort of stubborn in their ways, I guess?
well, I was in that. I mean, I was in that same phase as well. I just thought like, oh, the wins have to come at some
Yeah,
stage, you know. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just like this false reassurance. I think also I was able to identify that I needed help. You know, I just needed to turn
yeah,
my life around. And unfortunately, I think I probably didn't go into that rabbit hole as far as some other guys probably have. But yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's nice
That's
to hear.
it's really, it's actually, yeah. I think you should give yourself a lot of credit. Like the fact you're able to identify, I need help. This isn't working. And for it to happen so quickly, it could have gotten a lot worse. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we like to obviously show people, but at the end of the day, we can provide you with the tools. As we say, we can lead the horse to water, but you're the person that's done this, not us. Like we've just told you what you can do, and you, like Steve said, give yourself a pat on the back because you're the only person that's been able to do this. Like you've shown the initiative to reach out firstly, and then what's come from that is purely on you. Like obviously, you could have gone down the other pathway and just told us to get fucked, like a lot of other people do. But at the end of the day, they're the losers, not us. Like we will try and help as many people as possible, and people like you are very much frequent now in our communities. But then there's the other side of the stick where the majority will still tell us to piss off.
I think that's the hardest.
We'll just keep helping those who want to be helped.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is just admitting that you have a problem and that you're losing. And once you can get past that, it's going to be it's like that's the most important thing, I think.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Obviously, you're jumping off now, so as Steve said, you can come back whenever you want. And obviously, our doors are always open to anyone, and that's the beauty of it. But we thank you very much for showing other people what's possible, and hopefully people can gain inspiration from this. So feel free to keep sitting in the community, the chat, tune in, but hopefully we've been able to give you what obviously you've been able to get rewarded from. A house is awesome, but I'd say more importantly, like the stress and anxiety of punting is probably more valuable than the other stuff. But
totally
wish
agree.
you luck, and hopefully we'll see you around the community.
All right, thanks, boys.
Yeah,
Cheers.
love your work, mate. Cheers. No, go.
No, you go.
I forgot my question now because you started talking.
Okay. Sorry. Do you have a favorite? He blames me.